It's a Thanksgiving DFS slate on DraftKings where $5 could win you $1 million. So I'm going to do the best I can today to give you guys a little bit of an edge for that one. Of course, we're going to do what we always do here. We're going to look at projections via stochastic, the ownership as well. We're going to hop into the solver, see what ETR thinks about the data and some of the optimal lineups that we're going to get today. Of course, we're going to hop into the sims as well, see what the sim lineups are. And by the end of this video, you'll know the must plays for the Thanksgiving 3-game slate coming up. Let's get into it here. A little bit of a weird change here for the data. Stochastic's normal pages aren't showing up with the data today for some reason. So we're going to have to go into their data hub, which is part of the sim stuff. So a little bit darker, a little bit less visibility here. I actually should probably go and move myself to the left side because this is not, you'll be able to see it better if I move over here. I hate not being in the circle. We'll go to the traditional view for right now. But Thanksgiving here. So main things to know, you got 3 games on the board here. Let's go through the totals really fast. I just spent a lot of time pouring through these because I wrote my fantasy points column bright and early today. So that's going to be coming out hopefully in a couple hours. Chicago, 19.3 implied points. Detroit, a 10-point favorite, 29.3 implied points. Despite Chicago's defense looking pretty decent on the year, Detroit, certainly a matchup where they can do whatever they want to any team in the league right now. Also some pretty good splits inside for David Montgomery in particular. So Detroit hitting 29.3 implied points, definitely going to happen, one would think. Though they have lost, I think it was 7 Thanksgiving games. They said they lost in a row. Something on social media I saw said that this morning. So Detroit, high total here. Probably not going to lose this year. Giants, 16.8 implied points. Dallas, 20.3 in that game. Tommy DeVito, sore all over, was the recent reports about him. Also, it's a forearm injury, so it might be Drew Lock going. That's one to keep in mind there. And then Miami, Green Bay, your marquee game here, theoretically, as the main event. 22 implied points, Miami. Green Bay, a 3-point favorite at home with 25 implied points. Will Tua be affected by the weather? Probably, but that's how that's all looking right now. Shout out to the chat here. We got our guy Adam leaving chats yesterday and not realizing it. Appreciate everybody else here. Thanksgiving slates are the most fun. There we go. We got some ding dong. Good afternoon. I got a super chat from Robert the Deterred. Happy Spags giving. Thank you for that. Started off my Thanksgiving feeling good. The wife decided to pick a fight with me this morning. Like, dude, I'm not in the mood. I have to write a fucking 3-hour column. I have to write an unabated article. I have to prepare for a 17 game. It's not 17 really. A 15 game NBA slate. It's a lot going on. There's no best ball video yesterday too because I still just wasn't feeling right. Wanted to rest up a little bit to get to the NBA video. So we'll be back on track with best ball next week, but don't need to talk about it every week. Let's get to the projections and the ownership, though, and thankful for Splash Play. I appreciate you, Charles. It's very nice of you to say. Amon-Ra St. Brown, your top projected player in the slate, 20.4 fantasy points. He'll have 50.1% ownership going his way as well, so we'll be able to see the projections and ownership together here as we go through. Number 2 projected player, Jahmyr Gibbs, 18.7. 18.7 fantasy points for Jahmyr Gibbs. 42% ownership going his way as well. Jahmyr Gibbs, a player that I like a little bit less this week than David Montgomery. I've talked enough times about Detroit and how they approach things where it seems like their focus is always getting on different guys off every week. I pause, I'm sure. Last week, they ended up getting Gibbs going again, as I speculated they would. I thought it'd be a Gibbs or Laporta week. Gibbs ends up getting it. Maybe they end up getting Laporta going this week. Who knows? But David Montgomery left that game last week with the shoulder injury. Campbell was basically saying that he wanted to be back out there. He could have been back out there. He knew there was no way he's going to stop David Montgomery from playing this week. Montgomery's going to play this week. So the fact that you have Jahmyr Gibbs projected so highly, so much ownership going his way, I would love to tournament shot at Montgomery. And important to keep in mind, too, this is game 1 of the slate, too. So if you don't get the shit right in the first game, you're done for the day. So that's the main thing to keep in mind here. Really balancing your exposures for that first game is important. Leveraging things. If you're playing 20 lineups in the bidding tournament, if you're playing one of the 20 maxes as well, try to be mindful of the fact that, you want to cover your base a little bit more. You can't cover the moon and play every player, but you do want to play different outcomes. So you like the running game for Detroit. Obviously, you should, with that high of a total and how much they love to run in touchdowns. Generally, you should certainly play Gibbs. You should play Montgomery, but, weight them accordingly. Gibbs going to be very highly owned. Jared Goff at number 3. You wish Dan Campbell would get you off. I don't think you'd want Dan Campbell to get you off. He's a very strong man with a strong grip, and I don't think you'd end up with some chafing, would be my guess. I think Caleb's a trap. Well, maybe. Honestly, if he's low owned in the slate, that's all it takes. Jared Goff at number 3, 18.7 is projected for him. Really high total. 20% ownership for the QB, though, is a lot on this slate. There's certainly some ways that DeVito or Drew Lock can win enough money. I would say that the main thing for these slates to keep in mind is the best QB play, the highest owned QB play, very often does not pay off. So Jared Goff could throw for 5 touchdowns. I get it. The same token, he could also throw for 1 touchdown. Certainly not going to run a lot for you. You could see a lot of guys going off later on. Jordan Love in a competitive game. We do know he pushes things a little bit more in some of those spots. Even Dallas, New York, you do have 2 QBs there that are fairly cheap. And Cooper Rush looked fairly competent, I thought, last week, having watched the entire Commanders game as well. So there are options to play that are not Jared Goff, but with the high total, Jared Goff will certainly be appropriately owned. CeeDee Lamb at number 4 projected overall, 18.6 projection for him. He'll be about 45.4% owned. And Devon Achane at number 5, 18.5 projection for him, 39% ownership going his way. So these are your top projected players are going to come up in a lot of lineups you would guess, especially with reasonable price tags for the most part. In particular, Amon-Ra St. Brown, good price tag. CeeDee Lamb, good price tag. That's how that looks. Can't sort by value metrics here, so we're going to scroll down. Let me see if they maybe updated it since I last looked. The ownership was not correct. All right, here we go. Okay, they do have Thanksgiving here. Let's go back to this tab then. They're going to have to go back to the data hub for ownership. Now I can go back to my circle as well. We all win here when I'm back in the circle. All right, so your top projected players, same thing on here. Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Jared Goff, CeeDee Lamb, Devon Achane. Other guys to note here, Caleb Williams, not too far off, 18.1. I would err on the side of saying he's been a brand new man since Thomas Brown took over as OC for the Bears. Was actually digging into some stats with that stuff in particular as related to Keenan Allen, which I'll talk about in a moment. But Caleb Williams, to me, I think looks like eye test wise, a different QB, a much better QB. Caleb Williams overall, 5,300. He is priced. I mean, you go down here. Cooper Rush at 4,800. Let's see, do we have Drew Lock even in the projection set? Drew Lock at 4,500. DeVito at 4,500 as well. You're not getting a big enough discount, I think, to go away from Caleb Williams on paper. That's at that 3.4x value projection. He is certainly going to be a popular play in the optimizer, which we'll look at in a moment. Jordan Love, 17.7, your 3rd QB overall. Josh Jacobs looking pretty good as well. Top values overall on the slate. Caleb Williams, Tommy DeVito, who we talked about. Again, DeVito, I am not sure if he's going to play. Drew Lock's been absorbing a lot of the first team reps, and I don't know how you play Tommy DeVito banged up on a short week with him not getting all the first team reps. So I would think Drew Lock plays. The issue with Drew, this made me laugh. Gobble my money away. I hope not. Look, $5 entry fees. It's all good. I would say for DeVito, I don't think he goes. Drew Lock going, I don't think is as big of an improvement as people are going to think it is. DeVito's proven the fact that he can at least stand in the pocket, take a lot of sacks, but still create production for guys. He didn't show it last week against the Bucs, but he didn't show it when he debuted last year either. I think he kind of needs to get it up to speed a little more, be my guess, based on just looking at him. In fact, he did not seem to know what he was doing in that offense. But I don't think he plays. So Drew Lock, a little more mobility, a little more upside. I think that DeVito is an okay play if he goes, but Drew Lock's probably going to be played more if he goes, unfortunately. Rico Dowdle, a top value at 5,500 against the Giants. He could actually be a feature back in the spot. You do run some risk. He has a little bit of a fumbling issue. I don't care about fumbling stats too much, but eye test wise, he's dropped a few things, dropped a few passes, fumbled a few balls as well. You could see Zeke come in for a little bit of work, but probably not enough to be playable. But Zeke could do enough that he hurts Rico Dowdle's outlay. So I'd worry a little bit about that. Last week in the second half of that game against Washington, they moved away from Dowdle a little bit, played some more Deuce Vaughn, played a little bit more Zeke because of the fact that Dowdle wasn't looking that good. Let me look the snap count to see if it actually backs out as much as it looked like. Ezekiel Elliott last week got to 13 snaps, which was lower than the week before, played 26 the week before. Deuce Vaughn, it felt like was in a lot. Oh, I might be thinking of the previous week. Never mind. Never mind. I'm thinking of the previous week. I apologize. I'm sick. I blame the brain fog on that. But 2 weeks ago is when Dowdle fucked up and they moved away. Last week, Dowdle didn't fuck up as much. They didn't move away quite as much. So Dowdle last week did dominate the snaps overall. Still 40 flat for him, but didn't cede any to Deuce Vaughn. Didn't cede as much to Zeke. So that's basically it. Yes. Thank you, Eddie. Eddie always loves to chime in to correct me. And fucking yesterday, Eddie, by the way, naming guys incorrectly and ended up being right. Keontae George ended up going nuts in NBA. But yes, he did have a lot of carries last week. The week before was when he had fumbled and fucked up and got pulled. Rico Dowdle, again, an okay play here. Still think there is risk to it. Honestly, that projection feels pretty high for Rico Dowdle as well at 16.3. Cooper Rush, 4,800 for him. Get a decent price tag. Think he's looked better than both Giants QBs will look in the spot. For Cooper Rush, a lot of completions for him is a positive. The issue is the touchdown expectation is probably not that high. He can run a little bit, but he doesn't run as much as he should, given the fact he's not a good QB. So Cooper Rush, to me, not an exciting play, but in a slate where Jared Goff goes for like 17 and Tua goes for 17, like they're all in that range, I would think that Cooper Rush becomes a more valuable play, potentially getting to 15. So that's how that looks. Cole Kmet, really high projection for him, high value as well, 3,600. I don't buy it. I really strongly believe this is a Keenan Allen matchup for a couple of different reasons. The Lions play a lot of man defense. Keenan Allen's getting targeted 25% of the time he runs a route versus man defense. And for comparison, DJ Moore gets targeted about 18% of the time he runs a route versus man. Roma Dunze targeted 16% of the time he runs man. The other big thing as well, since Thomas Brown took over, Caleb Williams is actually targeting Keenan Allen, highest first read rate in the league, according to fantasy points data. Caleb Williams has targeted Keenan Allen 22 first read targets over the last 2 weeks. That's tied with CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, and Brock Bowers, I believe, were the other three. It's the top group of everything. So it's been a whole new role for Keenan Allen, and I think he's the player that's going to get slept on the most here. You see, not a great value metric on him. Decent salary at 5,100. Keenan Allen is, I'll tell you guys, I'm doing the ship chasing stream later today. Keenan Allen's the flag plant. I think he's the one that, along with Montgomery, has the biggest potential to break the slate early on. I am not one of the Romo Dunze flag planters like the guys at ETR. I just don't think he's actually that guy right now. DJ Moore certainly can be that guy in any spot. But the way Keenan Allen's being used, he's being used like old Keenan Allen was last year. So I think in this spot, for me, Keenan Allen, one of the best plays in the slate, and we'll see how that works out tomorrow. Besides that, what else do we note here? Any cheap guys to highlight? Cowboys D at 3,100 looks like a pretty good value play, your best defensive play on paper right now, whether it's Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito. Would think they look better with Tommy DeVito, though, because they're going to get just the sacks will increase their ceiling and their floor a little bit more. Drew Lock can turn it over, but he's not going to take quite as many sacks as DeVito does. DeVito just has no pocket awareness whatsoever. Other defenses here, not even up top. So you're going to get a lot of Cowboys, would be my guess. We're going to get a lot of Caleb, would be my other guess. Probably to get Rico in a lot of lineups as well, which really does not make me want to play Rico. Let's see if they change the ownership on this tab. We can go over here instead. Okay, they did fix the ownership as well. It's like they knew I had a stream coming, right? All right, here we go. Ownership tab now working correctly. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, your chalk play of the slate, 50.1% ownership. Rico Dowdle, number 2 at 48%. CeeDee Lamb, number 3 at 45%. Jahmyr Gibbs, number 4 at 42%. And Devon Achane at 39%. So your chalk plays of the week, going to be very Detroit-focused generally, and honestly, more Dallas than I think you would want. If you're going to go more to the Giants side, it's going to get unique because Rico Dowdle, look, I know the public loves Rico Dowdle, and really the industry loves Rico Dowdle. It's a lot of fucking Rico Dowdle. I don't feel great about that. Keenan Allen's still 33% for him, so he's certainly not a sneaky play. But that is the 1/3 of the field that I will certainly be with for sure for tomorrow's slate as well. Johnny Smith will be very chalky. I feel like I've heard him talked up in every format this week. Some of the underdog guys talked about him for that tournament as well, for the Thanksgiving slate on there. People are reaching like crazy for him. I think he's a good play. I think there's a lot of ownership for Johnny Smith, the guy who's been pretty good on the year, targeted per route higher than, honestly, is he higher than both Waddle and Tyreek now? He's higher than both Waddle and Tyreek per route. A 28% target route run for Johnny Smith compared to 24% for Tyreek, 19% for Waddle. I think that for Johnny Smith, it's a lot of ownership going his way. Doesn't make me want to play Cole Kmet a bunch or anything, but I do think that cutting that Johnny Smith ownership would not be a crazy take. David Montgomery down here, 25% strong play. Tyrone Tracy, fumbling issues for him, also not great, but they seem to keep going back to him despite that. 25% ownership going his way. Malik Neighbors complained the squeakiest wheel narrative is in play for Malik Neighbors here. Easy spot to hit against Dallas here. So for Malik Neighbors in the spot, I like him a lot at 25% ownership, even though the price tag, people are honestly wouldn't shock me if he were a little bit lower played. That's 7,100 for how he's been playing. It's not going to look that good. And whether it's Drew Lock or DeVito, I think Neighbors to me looks a little bit undervalued. Caleb Williams going to be the highest owned QB on the slate. It looks like at 24%. He'll be higher owned than Goff, who we had at 20 before. Actually, okay, it looks like they updated the ownership here too. So Jordan Love, 20.5%. Jared Goff at 20%. Christian Watson, decent projection play, 19.5%. Miami, the one place that Miami struggles is downfield. Christian Watson's been getting targeted enough downfield. It's basically all he's been getting all year. A decent play. Don't think it's a JMO spot. If you want to go to JMO, he's 18% owned. And you guys that are 10%, Theo Johnson, who's getting squeezed a little bit with some of the tight end additions, perhaps. Bears D, Wan'Dale Robinson, Tommy DeVito, Tim Patrick, Jalen Tolbert, who did catch a touchdown last week, Odell Beckham, who did not catch a touchdown last week, Bo Melton, Span Ford, Brock Wright, Darius Slayton. Not a lot of pretty plays down here. The one I would highlight, Devin Singletary. Singletary scored a touchdown last week. He's still involved enough. Snap share is probably not great compared to Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy played 24 snaps last week, which is down. And Singletary played 21. That's the closest they've had to an even share in months. So Singletary at 1% owned. Not a fun play for sure. Not a fun click. But that is not a lot of ownership for a guy that has basically a timeshare right now. Shout out to Obi-Wan here. Appreciate that. Appreciate Justin as well. All the regulars. Good to see you guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's tuning in. And whether you're watching this one live or after the fact, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. I'm recovering from illness here, and I have a lot of fucking content to do today. So I'm doing the best I can to go whole ass and not half ass. You guys know the deal. Neighbors might get 15 targets at that post-game rant. We'll see. They have to get him involved early. I think he should be involved more in every game. The issue is you still have not great QB play. The scheme has not been good either. So those are the main issues, but he should get targeted a lot. Whether he converts them or not, we'll see. Rather go Goff over Caleb, but Detroit seems like a pass funnel. Can see the pass rush giving Caleb enough fits. It's possible. He just looked like a different QB lately. He looks like honestly the best version of Caleb since Thomas Brown took over, which I didn't think was going to happen immediately, but it's definitely happening before our eyes a lot faster than it would have seemed possible. Just watching his games, honestly, if you have a NFL Pro, I always talk about here, pro.nfl.com. If you want to sign it up, get it for like $15 for a month. You can watch every play and go through. I did watch some Caleb the last 2 weeks because I've been curious to see how he's looking. He looks like a different guy. Like even the plays that he was taking where he does dance too much, stuff where DJ Moore went off the sideline a couple of weeks ago before they fired Shane Waldron. That was one of the plays where Caleb was dancing around and DJ Moore had stepped out of bounds and he was just like, I'm just done, I'm leaving. Now he's dancing around, but it's like with a little bit more of a purpose. So I think for Caleb, you're seeing positive things come out, and I don't think he's good enough to beat Detroit, but I think he might be good enough to hang in there. So that's how I feel about it. Shout out Tyler. I appreciate you very much for this. 5 SplashPay memberships. Thank you for that. Of course, join down below, but hopefully if you got a membership, please thank our friend Tyler here for his generosity. One of our favorite parts of the community and a true friend, I believe, is our friend Tyler. So Tyler doing a lot of content too. I saw, for Tyler's sake, I'll say, I watched your stream a little bit with Wyatt. So I saw you fucking dominating the convo there. So Tyler has some great takes, and I'm happy to see him being very generous here today. Top sim line, top optimizer lineups, excuse me. Let's go over here. Solver up next. Man, I woke up and fucking started doing work today, and that's not good for my brain. I'm like I feel like my brain is overheated right now, which, it's hard being a content creator, guys. You wake up, have to do work. Whoa, how awful. Top players according to ETR data. And if you want more ETR data, you can watch the Thanksgiving drinking show that Leone and Dinkmeyer did yesterday. I didn't see all of it, saw a little bit of it live. They were pretty hammered, it seemed, but they always have good takes, and I'm sure they love Romo Dunze as they seem to always love Romo Dunze. Yeah, I observed. I mean, look, you had great takes. I liked it, but I was like, man, you are fucking steamrolling wide. But it happens. You're the guest. That's sometimes what happens when the hostess lets the guest talk. Don't worry about it. But I enjoyed your content. I think you're really coming along as an on-camera guy. Not that you ever were bad at it, but even more now. All right. Ownership percentages right now. This is for Showdown. Hold on. Let me switch this back. Sorry. Here we go. ETR data. Top projected players. Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 1 for them. Number 2 is Jordan Love. So a bit of a discrepancy here between Stochastic, where Jordan Love was not in that top 5. He is top 5 for ETR. CeeDee Lamb is number 3 for them. So let me try to compare and contrast as we go here. These seem like fairly different projections the way they're usually not. So Stochastic has Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, CeeDee Lamb, Devon Achane as their top 5. ETR has Amon-Ra, Jordan Love, CeeDee Lamb, Jared Goff, and Achane. So a little bit of a change in rank order there, if not a change in the top 5, really. The Jordan Love one, though, is a big one, where Jordan Love is number 7 on Stochastic and number 2 here on ETR. So they are a big believer for Jordan Love. Ownership-wise, their top-owned player is Rico Dowdle as well. So Rico Dowdle chalk. I gotta say, I just don't think Rico's that good. I know it's like a little hot takey. I think Rico's better than Zeke. I'm fully aligned with that now. I think he's better than Deuce Vaughn. I think he's better than Deuce Vaughn if he were to miss one leg. I think Rico Dowdle's still better than him. I just don't think it's like a smash spot for the run game. I don't think I know Eddie pointed out the 19 carries. Like, I get it. There was volume for Dowdle last week, but he fucks up enough and gets pulled enough that you really run a big risk there. Price tag works. But man, you could flip it and go to Tracy. You could flip it and go to Singletary at 1% owned. There's a lot of ways that Rico Dowdle can fail here, but being with the field at 48% feels fair. Keenan Allen at 42, so they are crazy about Keenan Allen this week. Targets have been up for him. I think the box score watchers will see that as well when they open up their DK app and the casuals playing on Thanksgiving. They'll go like, wow, Keenan Allen's getting a lot of targets. They'll play him more. That said, he is actually getting a lot more targets and is now a completely different player than he was in the first half of the year. And one thing to note too, the fat Keenan Allen narrative swept the best ball season. It was a lot of fun making those jokes, I'm sure. For Keenan Allen, though, like he actually is, and this is an insane stat. And whether you believe in average separation score or not, follow your heart. The fantasy points data tool with that data has been a thing that's been, I think, fairly close on some stuff. Like it had Bateman high. Bateman's had a pretty good year relative to expectation. I think it's right in a lot of stuff. Keenan Allen, in terms of his average separation score, is actually tied with Jamar Chase on the year, which I know sounds insane, but it's like 0.11, I think was 0.111 was the exact number because I just did it in the column. I wrote it before the show. Keenan Allen's getting open. He just doesn't seem like he's getting open because he's not having ceiling days really. Even though last week was a ceiling, he's had one earlier in the year. But he's been good. So I don't think Keenan Allen's bad chalk. Certainly when you see Keenan Allen being this highly owned, though, it's not crazy to think about going to DJ Moore. More ETR has at 34% ownership, so he's not really sneaky. Odunze, 20% ownership. You're getting a lot less ownership on those guys, but like I think Keenan Allen is worth it. He is a thick PPR slut. I think that's it. So I like Keenan in the spot. I think it's a lot of ownership for Keenan, though, based on ETR's data. CeeDee Lamb, 42% ownership for him. Josh Jacobs, 40.5. Jahmyr Gibbs, 40%. So very chalky builds here involving Rico, Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Josh Jacobs, and Jahmyr Gibbs, it looks like, via ETR's data. Where do they have David Montgomery? David Montgomery, 26. Oof, man. I did not look at ownership before I made most of my stands this week. And I'll tell you what, I think I'm a little bit different than ownership, naturally. Let's run the optimizer here. We'll see what the top of the lineups right now, what the cash game lineup would be at 11:23 a.m. the day before Thanksgiving. It'd be Caleb Williams, according to ETR. Caleb Williams, your optimal lineup. Jahmyr Gibbs, Rico Dowdle, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Dontavian Wicks, who I think ran 6 routes last week. Might have been the week before last. His routes have been down, though. Played 28 snaps. For comparison, Christian Watson played too many Watsons in the league. Watson played 47. Reed played 36. And Dobbs played 37 despite being banged up. Man, I'm not a Wicks guy, but 4,200, I get the logic. Johnny Smith, Devon Achane, Cowboys D. So that's your optimal lineup. Again, Caleb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rico Dowdle, Keenan Allen, Lamb, Wicks, Jonnu, Achane, Cowboys. In terms of the overall outlay here of these top 25 lineups, you're getting Keenan Allen in 100% of them. You're getting Rico Dowdle in 100% of them. You're getting Caleb Williams in 100% of them. Main thing to keep in mind here, much like we talk about with showdowns, whenever you see the 100% ownership at all the top optimal lineups, it means those players get a little bit overplayed because the projections will naturally push people more to those players. So I like Keenan. I like Caleb conceptually. I'm happy to take Keenan without Caleb, though. So I think right away, if you want to strip away ownership, don't play Keenan, don't play Rico, don't play Caleb. And those guys are the best plays because they're coming up in all these lineups for a reason. But if you get away from them, you're getting away from a large portion of the field. So one thing to keep in mind here, that those guys are clearly the chalk. Your biggest game stacks, you're getting 20% of lineups with Caleb, Amon-Ra, Keenan Allen, and Sam Laporta. It's not that crazy. 16% with Caleb, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Keenan Allen. You are not seeing Montgomery in these stacks as much. 12% with Caleb, Amon-Ra, and Keenan in this one. 12% of Caleb, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, and Keenan. So not really any obvious trends, I think, to worry about here on the game stacks front. Player stacks, though, 92% Caleb and Keenan. So those guys get paired together a lot. I think the price tag for Caleb works. I think Caleb is unequivocally the cash game play. I don't care who starts for the Giants. I don't care about Cooper Rush. I think Caleb is the cash game play. I don't think playing Caleb and Keenan in tournaments is going to help you out a ton, unless Caleb goes nuts. But with the implied total being under 20 points for them, I don't know how this is a spot where Caleb goes nuts like that. He's running a little bit more lately. He's up to 4.5 runs a game, 0.9 red zone runs a game. Caleb can get there, but I think you're better off playing maybe a Miami Green Bay QB. I still think Cooper Rush didn't play enough for a tournament. I don't know. Rico Dowdle, CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys coming up at 68% of lineup, so that is paired quite a bit as well. Two things to note here. That's really the biggest stands. Caleb and Keenan being paired together, Rico, CeeDee Lamb, and Cowboys being paired together. If those occur naturally, it's going to be a problem. We don't have sims right now for this, or do we? Oh, we do. Okay, good. So let's run a 250 set here. Let me put on stack settings as well. Let me also increase the unique players. Let's go 2 for this one. So we only have 3 games. And let's optimize these lines to see what we get. Variance on as well. All right, here we go. We're going to build a 250 set and try to sim it out. Let's see what we get on the sim. Wick's thing is interesting. He's been really bad, but routes are there. Watson and Reed likely benefit more. Watson probably the most. Wonder if Tucker sees more of the short A dots as he's been better. It's a decent way to look at it. Wick snaps and routes will skyrocket as Dobbs is trending to be ruled out. Yeah, if he's out, obviously that changes the equation a little bit. But, I mean, Dobbs hasn't been officially ruled out yet. He's in all the projections, so not necessarily changing things yet. But actually, it looks like ETR might have Dobbs out as well. ETR does have Dobbs out. Stochastic does not, I believe. Missed a weekly review and Underdog team checks. My favorite video of the week. I appreciate that, Carzone. Unfortunately, it's like you and 200 other people. That's their favorite video of the week. So if I'm sick, that's the one that's got to go. And doing a video today, it has to happen that way. But yeah, my advance rates are down. My big board ones still look good. BBM, though, I was up to it was up to a normal amount. I think I had like a 16% advance rate. It got knocked back down to like, I think 9% or 10%. So it really wasn't a video I wanted to do in any front. But yeah, it's just, honestly, it's a video that probably next year I probably won't do, unfortunately. Just got to make the views count a little bit more for these videos, unfortunately. But I appreciate you saying that. I love you for loving it. But sometimes you got to recognize when shit doesn't work. Yeah, next week I have to do it because it's week 14. So yeah. But we'll see how it goes, man. I was shocked by how that slate went because I don't really get how I didn't stay up with how good Jaden and McLaurin were combined relative to the field, at least. But that's neither here nor there. All right, what tournaments do we have here? Let's find the biggest one possible because they don't always do the Millie Maker entries correctly. I don't want to do a single entry. I think it would have to be the Engage 8, right? Because that's not a single entry. No, it is. No, the slant. All right, let's do the slant again. I don't know why they don't just build the Millie Maker field. Drives me nuts. Like ETR doesn't do that one thing. I don't know what the logic is for not doing it. That was a really fast sim, though. Your top sim RL lineups according to ETR's data. Of course, we'll look at Stochastic next. And the solver, link in the description to check it out for yourself. Optimizer plus sim. There's a lot of good stuff for you. We got Jordan Love, Rico Dowdle, Devon Achane, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, Jaden Reed, Johnny Smith, Dontavian Wicks, and Cowboys D is your top lineup right now, leaving $100 on the table. I would also say, too, you can leave more money on the table on the slate. A little bit of showdown rules. I wouldn't go crazy. Wouldn't leave like $2,000 on the table necessarily, but you could, and I don't think it'd be crazy. Number 2 is Caleb Williams with David Montgomery again, Rico Dowdle, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cole Kmet, CeeDee Lamb, and Cowboys D. So you're getting the Caleb chalk here. You're making it less chalky, but making it a triple stack, adding on DJ Moore, adding on Cole Kmet. So that makes sense. Still taking the Rico chalk no matter what, though. So Rico chalk, popular for the sim here. It looks like he's in pretty much all the top sim ROI lineups as well. Jared Goff, your number 3 ROI lineup with David Montgomery, Rico Dowdle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Dontavian Wicks, Sam Laporta, Johnny Smith, and Lions. So basically playing here like a 40-0, 47 kind of game here for the Lions getting a ton of points. It is a Dave Montgomery revenge game, which doesn't matter, but yes, a little bit of an extra boost. It's also at home. I don't think it really matters that much. But yes, Montgomery, good play, revenge or not. Number 4 is Caleb Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rico Dowdle, Keenan Allen, Romo Dunze, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cole Kmet, CeeDee Lamb, and Dolphins D. And number 5, another Jared Goff line. So no Tua up top. I don't want to play 2 in the cold either, but if nobody's going to play 2 in the cold, play 2 in the cold. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, Dontavian Wicks, Sam Laporta, Schumacher, and Cowboys D. Monty Revenge or thank you game. That's the thing. Like NBA players, and because there's so many NBA player podcasts out there now, they've talked about revenge games, and it's like, yeah, if you love the place, you don't want to leave it. Like they talk about Houston being a popular spot for revenge games. Guys like enjoy being there. Great strip clubs, apparently, according to NBA players. They want to be there. David Montgomery is the happiest he's probably ever been in life in Detroit. I mean, he's a leader in that team. He matters in football. So I don't think he really is mad at the Bears enough for that to be a data point that you should try to lean into. Other QBs here, their top lineups: Cooper Rush. You're getting Rush with Jahmyr Gibbs, Rico Dowdle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Wicks again, Schoonmaker, Tyrone Tracy, and Lions D. Tommy DeVito lineup here with Tyrone Tracy, Rico Dowdle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, Sam Laporta, Wicks, and Lions. Seems like the main observation here is that if you're going to play any QB leaning into that stack more, it has to be probably at least a QB +2 based on these sims here. And honestly, if you're playing Lions or Bears, it has to be like a QB +3, it seems, if not QB +4. Really overloading here stack seems like the move overall. And then where's Tua? Legit, not a single Tua lineup. He is still a football player on the slate. I think this is an insane lack of Tua, given that Jonnu Smith is chalky. We got Tua, David Montgomery, Rico Dowdle, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, Christian Watson, Jonnu Smith, Devon Achane, and Cowboys D. So you're not getting Waddle after he just went off. You're not getting Tyreek besides one lineup here out of the top 20. Interesting things to see. Excuse me while I cough. Feeling great. Can't wait to do so much content today. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the main observations here, a lot of Dowdle. So fading Dowdle, going to get you away from Sim Bros, but it doesn't seem like a good play based on the Sims. A lot of overstacking for sure. Not a lot of Miami receiver talk. That's basically it. Caleb Chalk, and also Caleb in all the sim lineups as well. So usually I wouldn't expect that to be the case, but he is lowly priced. Like, I get the concept. A little bit odd though. All right, let's go over to Stochastic again now and see what their version of the Sims have. And let me share this tab. We're going to build 10,000 lineups and have to compete 10,000 times. We'll see what we get out of it here. And guys, if you appreciate this content, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Do the best I can to give you guys my work here, the effort I put in to understand these sports better than most people out there is always my goal. But of course, I'm here Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. I'm also here for NBA Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. on the Splash Play NBA channel. Check them both out. Hopefully all adds value, and I appreciate you guys being here if you do. All right. What is, this is actually worth looking up. What is the tournament outlay? What share goes to first place? So it's 2.5 million, 1 million goes to first place. So that's like 40%, right? Is that math correct? I think it was. All right, so we're gonna go all the way up here. 40% to first. Let's see what we get. What lineups will Stochastic thinks are better? Being overweight to Tua, Rush, lock stacks? Oh, you're saying all the QBs, yeah. I mean, look, Tua is the one that really stands out to me. They've been a lot better. Green Bay's a tough defense, but like a little too much narrative going against Tua in the spot. Like, he doesn't project well because the implied total's at 22 points. Not that good. But like, eye test wise, I feel like Tua, since he came back from the concussion, has looked like the best version of Tua. Obviously, the offense is getting much better results with it. But just the fact he's unowned on a slate where like everybody else seems like they're going to be more than appropriately owned. He's not coming up in Sims. Like, there's not going to be enough Tua lineups out there. Main thing to keep in mind, though, is like the reason these guys aren't coming up is because the Sims don't think they're actually good plays. So be really mindful of the lineups that you are playing. If you are playing Tua, are playing Drew Lock, are playing Cooper Rush, and all that. All right, let's see what we get in these compiled results here. Maybe we'll get some Tua. Stochastic is like Tua a lot on every main slate, so maybe we'll get him again. All right. Taking its sweet time. I do not feel like stalling for time today. I'll tell you what. If you win the money with Tua, your wife will give you the Hawk Tua. Oh my God, get Hawk Tua. One bit. The tweet about how Ellen DeGeneres is like the apex predator of all the viral meme stuff. Couldn't agree with that more. She would have the Hawk Tua girl on, would have made some veiled jokes about not giving blowjobs because of how much of a lesbian she is. Everybody would have had some good laughs, and we could have gotten rid of her. Instead, she has to have a meme podcast that somehow gets 1 million fucking downloads. I don't know who is listening to that. Nobody really. I think it's all bit. And honestly, it's probably not actually getting real numbers anyway, because Better is a fucking scumbag company that lies about everything. So, Hawk Tua, maybe not really important, but man, I've heard more about Hawk Tua than I would have ever thought possible. Number one ROI line for Stochastic. Zoom in a little bit more. We got Caleb Williams, Josh Jacobs, Rico Dowdle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Luke Schoonmaker, Tyreek Hill, and Cowboys D. Your number one ROI lineup, QB plus 2 with the bring back. Your number 2 ROI lineup is a QB plus 2 with 2 bringbacks, and it's Tua. All right, so Tua, Josh Jacobs, Rico Dowdle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Jaden Reed, Luke Schoonmaker in both the top lineups so far. Johnny Smith and Cowboys D. Double tight end in this one as well. Number 3 is Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rico Dowdle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, and Dolphins D. Number 4 is Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tyrone Tracy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Jameson Williams, Cole Kmet, Theo Johnson, and Dolphins. So you're not going to get Caleb dominant here as ETR had. Number 5 is Caleb again, though. Caleb, Rico, Tyrone Tracy, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Devon Achane, and Bears D. So what are the trends here? Good amount of Gibbs, but not Gibbs in every lineup. Rico in 4 out of the top 5. Tyreek in 5 out of the top 5. Tyreek. So that's a lot of love for Tyreek from the top lineups here from Stochastic. Nothing else. Tyrone Tracy a little bit more than I would think, but only 2 out of the top 5 still. Yeah, the Dowdle and Tyreek parts are the most interesting to me. Still a believer in Dowdle overall here, but Tyreek in 5 out of 5 is kind of crazy. Overall in the top 150 set here, we just favorited. Getting 5.8% ROI on Cole Kmet, 3.2% ROI on Luke Schoonmaker. Everything else is slightly negative, including Rico Dowdle, despite being chalk, only a negative 1.9% ROI. So he does seem like good chalk based on these sim data points. No. I mean, you could if you want to build a unique lineup, but it better be well projected enough. Honestly, we could look through really fast to see. Let's see, where's salary? Do they not? Okay, salary's all over here. Your lowest salary lineups, I mean, this is your highest ROI, 48.5. Yeah, you can leave, it looks like up to 1,500 on the table. But again, like I would do it in this kind of build where it's still projected to have a positive ROI. I wouldn't play one of these ones with a negative ROI and leaving a ton of money on the table because you're probably just setting yourself up to lose on that one. We've been like listening to her and get a glimpse of, yeah, I guess. But all the sex podcast girls, like, the Call Her Daddy girls, they barely overlap with me at Barstool. They just then try to pivot like as soon as they possibly can. Like she interviewed Kamala. Like, I don't know. I don't think the sex podcast shelf life is that long. But yes, we'll see what happens with Hawk 2. I can't wait for her to become a political fucking mastermind with all of her interviews. Stack ROIs here. No positive ROIs for QB plus 1, so really do not try to do single stacks on the slate. It looks like QB plus 2, you're getting a positive ROI on Caleb. Everybody else negative, but you're getting 5% ROI on Caleb, the QB plus 2. QB plus 3, positive ROIs on Cooper Rush, 12% for that. And Caleb Williams, 8% ROI for him. Okay. Overall exposures. 74% Rico Dowdle compared to the field's 48. A lot of leverage on that. So Rico Dowdle, look, I feel how I feel about it. I still think there is a merit to getting away from just all the sim bros overall. But I think in this spot, to me, I'll be with the field on Rico. I'm not going to overload Rico like it seems like they want. I think my middle ground is like, I don't think Rico's a great play. The projections and both sites think he's a great sim play. As a result, I have to throw my shit out the window a little bit here because the sims are like, just take the chalk and just make good lines around Rico. That said, there's really obvious ways that Rico doesn't get there. Giants RB getting there. Cowboys stalling out entirely, having a dud game after they looked a little bit better than they probably should have against the Commanders. There's a lot of ways that Rico can fail here, I think is the main thing. He can not score a touchdown, and that could be it too. So I don't love this much Rico exposure, but this much Rico exposure in the Sims makes me think I should get to at least the Fields exposure. It's the way that I would view it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 59% compared to the Fields, 49%. So a little bit of leverage there, about 10%. CeeDee Lamb, 55% exposure compared to 45% for the field. DJ Moore, 49% compared to 29%. So they're trying to get that Keenan Allen leverage for you. Jahmyr Gibbs, 45% compared to 43%. So basically with the field on that. Cole Kmet, 2x the field. So it seems like the stochastic sims really want you to get leverage against Keenan Allen. The ETR sims seemed like they were more in favor of playing Keenan Allen, but then adding Bears on top of it. So I think that's a little bit of a difference between the two sites. Devon Achane, you're getting 41% compared to 38, so basically flat with that. Cowboys D, 39% compared to 25, so they are big believers in the Cowboys D here. Josh Jacobs, 39% compared to 39, flat on that. Tyreek, 38 compared to 28, so 10% leverage. And Caleb, despite him looking like the chalk of all chalk, 37% exposure compared to 25%. So main thing to keep in mind, as I always try to say with the sims operate off of the assumptions that are made by the median projections that you're using in them. So that's sort of what you should be mindful of here, is that if you were to tweak the projections a little bit, if you were to like knock Rico Dowdle down, bump up whatever other RB, bump up Cowboys RB, but I probably wouldn't do that. You could definitely find ways that the sims will then tell you what you want to see more. But yeah, like basically, it's parroting back a lot of projection data is the main thing. Rico Dowdle, Cole Kmet, your highest leverage guys. Luke Schumacher, you're going to get him 35% compared to the field's 12. Schumacher's been the preferred tight end there, but Spanford does take enough away. There's a little bit of a risk. If Schumacher doesn't catch a touchdown like he did last week, he's going to bust at 3,400, but still a decent play, still getting targeted well per route run, being targeted 24% of the time that he's running a route, which is a pretty good number, basically in line with where Jake Ferguson was. Ferguson was at 23.6% target route run rate. So Schumacher is basically getting the majority of that role, even though Spanford is still getting enough. DJ Moore, 20% leverage on him. Cowboys D, 15% or 14% leverage on them. Caleb Williams, 11% leverage. Tyreek, 10. Amon-Ra, 9. CeeDee Lamb, 9 rounded up. Sam Laporta, 7. And where are they on Keenan Allen? Probably really low on Keenan Allen, if I had to guess. Okay, not terribly low. Really low on Malik Neighbors. Negative 24% leverage on Malik Neighbors. You only got him in 1% of lineups here. That's tough. Negative 15% on Lions D. High price tag. I get why that would be the case. And they do like Caleb a lot, so Lions with that. Though honestly, you play Lions D with Caleb, that's your way to get unique, because people won't do that. Johnny Smith, negative 12% leverage. They do not like him as a play. David Montgomery rounded up 12. Jordan Love rounded up negative 12. Christian Watson of negative 11. Odunze negative 11. Where are they on Keenan Allen? I feel like he's not coming up on any of these charts. Flat with the field on Keenan Allen. 32.7% exposure compared to 33% in the pool. All right, let's try to build a lineup here. I feel like I'm not going to do well sim ROI-wise based on what we just saw. We'll try to do it anyway. All right, my priority plays for this slate. It's Montgomery and Allen first and foremost. I feel pretty strongly about those guys after digging deep for the fantasy points column and trying to make a case for them, which is a little bit of a bias-based thing because I just wrote an article about it. But David Montgomery at RB, like him against all the Gibbs ownership, like Montgomery as well after Gibbs went off last week. Montgomery's healthy. I could imagine him. Can you envision the guy with the big turkey leg? I can. So David Montgomery is my play here. Wide receiver, I'm putting in Keenan Allen. I think he's good chalk. Sims want you to move away from him a little bit more, but they still had him as with the field in terms of the exposure. So David Montgomery, Keenan Allen, the base I will have for probably a lot of lineups I do, because these are the two guys I think can be the most important in that first game. What else are we going to go with here? I think it's 2 at QB. Love would be an easier QB click. Then what we could stack him with Wicks. Let's just play it. We'll play the value for Wicks. Again, I'm not the biggest Wicks fan in the world, but if Dobbs is going to be out, do you think Wicks has utility? I'm not. Let me see. Do they have Dobbs? They do have Dobbs out. Wicks was not cut up as much as he was for ETR, though. I will say that. But let's put Wicks in here as wide receiver. We got 55.80 left per spot. RB. They play Rico in this one. How do I get away? How would I get away from Rico? I mean, like, I think Singletary is a good play at 1% ownership. Tyrone Tracy, though, is a guy where I watch him every time he's playing a game, and he looks like a much better RB than I thought he would possibly be based off the numbers coming out of college. Achan's, we'll see. I don't think it's Achan for me. I think it's Tracy. I want to get the direct leverage on Rico, and opposite RB in the same game is the best way to do that. So I am going to go with Tyrone Tracy here. It leaves us 55.25 left. Need another receiver. I don't think Neighbors fits in this lineup that well. It was a lot of Tyreek up top. Tyreek's numbers I've talked about basically the entire year. He's nowhere close to where he was last year. I think everybody is now aware of that. But like how bad they are, probably worth talking about a little bit more. Being targeted 14 or getting a touch 14% of the time he's on the field. That's really low for comparison's sake. That's where Jaden Reed is for Green Bay, which Jaden Reed we like, but like the complaint about Jaden Reed is he doesn't get the ball enough. Tyreek's getting the ball less per snap than Jaden Reed does. So that's a problem. Actually, the question here: should lineups fade games, keep them to only 3 to 4 teams, or grab a little from all games? I would fade one team potentially. I probably wouldn't fade a game. But like if you were to take Bears out of a lineup, let's say, you would get one like ETR had up top on the solver. One of their highest ROI lineups had no Bears, but a bunch of Lions. So doing that for some set of lineups, I think would not be a crazy thing to do. And frankly, if you wanted to like really get in the weeds with it, you could go with the solver. What you could do is like take a team out, optimize 500 lineups, sim those out, do the same thing, take another team out in the same game, do that again. Like I probably wouldn't take Detroit out no matter what, but like let's say you take out Chicago in one set, take out Detroit in one set, take out Dallas in one set, take out New York in one set. You're going to end up with still well-protected lineups that are much more unique because you're not just jamming in one team just to get that player in from a team. So yeah, there's a lot of merit to it. The sims will do it for you naturally to some extent, but I would say if you want to get granular like that, doing it with the solver is probably the best way to do it. 20 max. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Game stack's always a good thing, but yeah, for a short slate, especially because you can just have one outlier game and a slate full of bad ones. And let's say the touchdowns concentrate for Montgomery or Gibbs, maybe one receiver from Detroit. You don't get touchdowns in Dallas, New York is a possibility. And then Miami, Green Bay goes off because Tua has a good game and Green Bay is doing their part as well on their side. A lot of ways that could work out. So yeah, I think that's worth the approach. The sims will do it naturally for you, but if you want to have control over it, using the solver is probably a really good way to do it. All right, other wide receiver to add in here. I just don't believe in Tyreek enough, but he was in all the top lineups. Like, I guess the question for me is like, am I trying to make a lineup the sim is going to think is good, or am I trying to make the lineup that I think is the best? I think I'm trying to make a lineup that I think is the best. I think that would be, I think it's a CeeDee Lamb lineup. So I think CeeDee Lamb gets there PPR wise no matter what. I mean, not no matter what, but I think he's more likely to get there PPR wise. I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb here over Tyreek. Gives us 49.33 left. Let me put in a defense here. Cowboys D projects well. They're going to get to DeVito or Locke. Go Cowboys D here. Conflicts with Tracy a little bit, but Tracy probably won't get played with Cowboys D a lot, so I can live with that. Tight end. Jonnu, Laporta. I have, for the record, no feel for Sam Laporta at this point. He's so much of a non-factor. I think he's due to get fed in one of these games at some point because he's just so not involved in the offense. They have to get him going a little bit more before the playoffs. I'm going to put Laporta in here. This is not me having a big stand on Laporta, but at 4,100, still a good projection. And he really is one of few tight ends with like a real ceiling here. It's him, Jonnu. I mean, these guys have ceilings, but like reliable ceilings. Like Laporta should in theory have one more. But granted, he hasn't had one this year, so you can fade me on this if you want. I'm going to put Laporta in on this. And flex-wise, we now have this much money left over. Gibbs and Montgomery is going to make this too thin, I think. It's not aligned perfectly. And we didn't double stack Wicks or Love with somebody else with Wicks. Let's go to Tucker Kraft instead of Laporta. I do like Laporta a lot, but I think it's going to make this lineup make more sense. Let's go to Kraft instead. Then the flex, we can get to Amon-Ra or Achane. Let's go Achane. All right, so we got a Green Bay double with a bring back of Achane. Let's see how that looks here. 40% to first in a large contest. The lineup, again, because I moved around a lot here. Jordan Love, David Montgomery, Tyrone Tracy, Keenan Allen, Dontavian Wicks, CeeDee Lamb, Tucker Kraft, Devon Achane, Cowboys D. Negative 45%. Take out Cowboys and put in, leave money on the table and go to Giants D. Because it might not like the Tracy negative correlation, I guess. But also like just how the Sims looked. I think it just wants me to put in Tyreek and some bullshit. And I don't really want to do that. I'm gonna go with my instinct and go back to the other one and see how this looks. Laporta. Let's spend up for Lions since we didn't play a lot of Bears in this one. Leaves us 7,200 left. You get some Malik Neighbors or Josh Jacobs. Jacobs would make this a double stack, technically. See if we can get that to work. And if not, I give up. We've been here for 50 minutes. I think we've done enough. But coming back today, by the way, ship chasing Thanksgiving stream, 8:45 p.m. is when I'll be making my appearance. I think the entire stream starts at 8. Watch that one. Always a great stream every year, independent of me or not. Also at 4 p.m., I'll be on the Splash Play NBA channel doing the breakdown of today's fucking endless NBA slate. 13 DK games with 15 games in total. We'll also be on the deeper dive for Stochastic, I believe at 5. Might be 5:30. Just check that real fast for you guys. And also negative ROI lineup here anyway, so who fucking cares? Deeper dive for Stochastic today, if it will load, is at, you would think I would know when I'm doing these shows, but they move them around fucking randomly sometimes, really throw me for a loop. And it looks like they actually don't have it in their sheet. I wanted this plug, but I'm going to be on shit later. It'd be helpful to know this. Okay, don't talk to me, screen. There we go. That's Laffy and Ben Rasa talking. All right, 5 o'clock start time. There we go. We did it. 5 o'clock start time for me on the deeper dive later today. There we go. Ways to get unique on the slate. Number one would be not playing Rico Dowdle. He comes up a lot here. Really, the big thing would be what we saw with the solver coming up. You're getting 100% of lineups in the top projected ones. The optimal lineups overall. You're getting 100% on Keenan Allen, 100% on Caleb Williams, 100% on Rico Dowdle. So those are sort of your chalk assumption plays you're going to see coming in a lot. So strip away one of those guys, strip away all three of those guys. You're going to get off the beaten path of a lot of lineups out there. Of course, you're going to be less projected than some of those other lineups, but doesn't matter. It's a 3-game slate. There's basically a big showdown anyways. Take that shot. Number 2 way to get unique on this one, I think it's playing Tua. Tua does not come up enough. ETR subscribers will get to Jordan Love a good amount no matter what. But Tua was just not that popular on ETR. Didn't come up a ton on Stochastic either. I don't like Tua in the cold as much as anybody. I don't think he's prepared for that kind of thing as well as he should be. But just the fact he's going to be that available, that low owned, and theoretically have the same upside is really more upside than half the slate. I think Tua is a good play, even though, he's not well projected. I could say that. Number 3 way to get unique would be, really, this isn't even a way to get unique. I think the move is just to deal with the Keenan Allen chalk and play him. I think it's play David Montgomery. That's really the strongest way here. And the main thing for me is please do your best to get the first game right, because there was no worse feeling. And I know this from being the guy who's touted Josh Reynolds before to success on Thanksgiving. There's no worse feeling for people out there when they don't have the guy who's the one you need in the first game, because the rest of your day is done then. You're just on the new slates and playing showdowns and shit and chasing. That's not fun either. So try to be a little bit more different, a little more spread out amongst the first game, and give yourself a shot to then be able to pivot. And really late swapping, if you want to do that, if you can at Thanksgiving, even if you're just doing it on your phone with your family and friends and whatever, be willing to do that too, but try to make sure you get some shot at the nuts in that first game. So that means play JMO. If you're playing X amount of lines, you're playing a 20 max, get some share of that. Get shares of Laporta, get shares of the guys in the first game that matter, because one of them going off is going to be what you need, and then just try to pivot around that. That's the best I can give you guys here. Going to be back today, 4 p.m. Splash Play NBA, 5 p.m. Stochastic YouTube channel doing the deeper dive, 8:45 doing the ship chasing show. My fantasy points column coming out at some point today too. I'm not doing anything tomorrow, so I won't be with you guys then, but I will be back on Friday doing the main slate preview there, the must plays for Friday. I'll see you guys then. Make sure to subscribe before you go. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and happy Thanksgiving, guys. I hope it's a good day for you. I hope that your families don't drive you nuts. Even if they do, try to appreciate them for what you can if you're hanging out with them. And if you don't like them, just don't fucking hang out with them. I don't know. You're an adult. Do what you got to do. But thank you to the paying members as well. I'm grateful for them the most this time of year. You two can join down below for $4.99. Got to add 5 new names on. Thanks to our pal Tyler. I appreciate it. But you guys support the show. Get a VP Discord. Get my data sheet. All that stuff. No data sheet for this video, but I will have it for this slate rather. I'll have it for the main slate coming up in a couple days. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Gamble responsibly, even though it's always money time, etc. And of course, good luck. Bye-bye.